from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest YouTube video. Today I'm sharing a really fun collab with Nefer, who is one of my patrons. We got chatting a little while ago and thought it would be fun to share with you some journal pages that we create, and we're both going to be using the same journal prompts, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that during the video itself. But so we'll both be working from those same prompts and using them to create some pages in our journals. And I'll leave a link to Nefer's YouTube channel as well, so that once you watch mine, you can pop over and watch hers. And I always think it's really interesting how prompts are a great way to get you started with journaling, but then it all comes down to how you interpret them and what you want to bring onto your journal pages. Well, I really hope you enjoy the video. Each month on Patreon I release a list of journal prompts, and these are split up between writing prompts and creative prompts, so they alternate every day, and these can then be used and combined in any way my patrons want. So I'm going to be working from some of the November prompts today, and Nefer and myself decided to pick Galaxy and Splatters. So we've got two creative prompts. I am going to be adding some writing to mine as well. I think I'm going to use mine to set some intentions for 2023. I'm going to be using my Viviva Colours watercolour book. I did think about using my regular journal, but I know I want to use quite a lot of watercolour on this, and this has just been coping so beautifully. It's a really textured paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a compass to draw a circle, and this is where I'm going to be trying to keep my watercolour within, but I do want some space around the outside, so I'm just checking that shape. So this is the area that I'm going to be adding my painting in, and then I'm going to draw some lines, some other circles around the outside while I'm here. Not loads, but I do want it to have some writing space there. And I'll be coming back and using those as guidelines later on. So now I've got those circles, the first thing I'm going to do is mix up some watercolour paint. And I've got a set here which are Kuretake paints. And I'm going to be going for a variety of different blues and perhaps some purpley colours as well. And I will then be coming back later to add some splatters. I think I'm going to use this lovely set sent to me by Sketch and Story. This gold is absolutely beautiful, and it's got a lovely sparkly blue as well, so I might well use some of that. And I like to mix all of these paints up in advance when I'm doing something like a galaxy, because I do want those colours to be able to mix in with each other. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes now to mix up those paints. I definitely want some dark blues in there, as well as this beautiful turquoise colour. So these are the colours that I've decided to use. And now, without any particular rhyme or reason, I'm going to start filling in this inner circle. And really the only thing that I try to do here is make sure that I've got a good combination of those colours really around the whole circle. And I like to have some of these darker colours often around the outside. So I go quite carefully where I'm going up to that pencil line, and then I'm just going to bring some of that paint inwards. I think I'll do something similar over here. And so I like to get those colours all mixed up so that when I start adding the next ones, they can start to run into each other a little bit, which I love. Okay, I think I'm now going to add some purple. I find this a really relaxing way to paint because I don't think you can go too far wrong with this. I'm already really intrigued about what Nefer's going to be creating. I love doing collaborations like this where you're working with the same prompts but will no doubt be doing things slightly differently. And I don't always get through all of my journal prompts each month on Patreon, but I like to do as many of them as possible. If you get a day where you fancy journaling but don't really know what you want to write about or what supplies or style you want to go for, I find that they can be a really good way of just kind of kick-starting your journaling for that day. I'm really enjoying seeing these colours flood in with each other. And these sorts of things come together so quickly. As I mentioned, I'm also going to use this page to start thinking about some of my intentions for next year. So I thought it'd be really nice to record that around the outside. So I'm also dropping some of these paints straight into the others whilst they're still wet. And then I'm going to finish off, I think, with a little bit of this kind of pinky red colour. I'm trying to work quite quickly because I've got something else I also want to do before I dry this, which I'll share with you in just a moment. Okay, the last little bit here. Okay, so before I dry this, I want to sprinkle a little bit of salt on my wet paint, and I'm using some Saxa Sea Salt Fine. So I'm just going to pour some onto my hand and then sprinkle this over the wet paint. And this is why I wanted to go quickly, because the salt can leave a really interesting effect as it starts to soak up that paint. So you do need it to be nice and wet for that to work. So I'm going to leave that salt to sit for just a minute to give it a chance to soak up some of the paint. Then I'm going to dry that quickly with a heat tool and then brush all the salt off my page. So that now looks dry, so I'm going to just start using my finger to rub this salt off. And you do want to make sure that it's nice and dry, because otherwise when you start rubbing that salt off your page, you might find it's still got a bit of the paint pigment in it and leave some smudges. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm just going to take a minute to rub all of this off. So that's now left that really beautiful kind of mottled effect within the paint. I absolutely love that technique. So I've got my galaxy done. My other prompt was splatters. So for this, I'm going to use some white Amsterdam acrylic ink. I just like using this because it's so opaque. And I'm also going to use some gold splatters as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. And I'm going to try to be careful not to get too much of it around the rest of the page where I want to be writing, but I think it's probably inevitable there'll be a little bit. And I'm just gently tapping my brush. I just think the splatters give a really nice effect. But I didn't want too much because I also do still want to be able to see that lovely effect that's being created by the salt. So now I'm going to mix up some of this gold. And again, just add a few splatters. And now before I move on to the writing, again, I'm just going to get this nice and dry. And I might just try and blot up a little bit where I've got some splashes around the outside. I don't know if the camera is picking up how beautiful that gold is, but it just shimmers beautifully. So yeah, really loving how that's looking. I'm now going to add some writing around the outside. The one thing I'm going to do with these rings before I start is bring somewhere from the outside, bring that down to the center, to the next line. That's because I want to be able to write around the outside ring and then bring that writing into the middle. And for my writing, I'm going to use a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib. I'm slightly concerned how it's going to cope on the textured paper, but so if I need to change, I will. But I'm going to start thinking about how I want to live my life next year. So not what I want to achieve, but kind of what I want to keep at the centre of all that I do. So I'm just going to be writing some words and trying to make sure they go from the top to the bottom of each of the lines. And I'm just going to start really working my way around that until I get back kind of to the end. So hopefully you can see there kind of how I'm using those lines. just so I might have some kind of slightly elongated letters, but I'm absolutely fine with that. I think it gives it a lovely quirky feel. I'm just going to put a dot in between each of the words and carry on filling this up. So that's my writing now all complete. Hopefully you can see there where I've brought that word laughter kind of inside. I mean, you could just use the two circles, but I like them being able to flow into each other. So some of the intentions I've written down are love, family, fun, kindness, heart, health, purpose. So I'm really thinking about the kinds of things I want to keep at the centre of everything I do next year. And the only thing left that I'll do to this is just erase those pencil lines once I know the ink is definitely dry. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing this, and please don't forget now to go and check out Nefer's video. I'll leave her channel linked in the video description box down below so that you can see what she did with these prompts too. As always, if you choose to have a go and you're on Instagram, please do tag me in as Journal with Purpose. I'd absolutely love to see what you've created. Thank you ever so much for being here and watching, and as always, a massive thank you to everybody who's supporting me over on Patreon. Well, I hope you're doing really well. I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.